I decided to be a little bit more casual and chill because it's a Sunday. I hope you all are having a beautiful day. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about, hey, Gier. I wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking and focusing on recently. And over, I'm getting the verse, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And as I realize there's so many things that come up in my life where I am tempted to fear or to act based on fear. And that so often happens in relationships. It can also happen just in our own economic outlook, where we feel sort of a sense of instability or we're not quite sure what's coming next. There's so much going on in the world today that is basically focused on getting us to be afraid, and recognizing that whenever somebody is putting fear into our space, that is not the power that we have. That is taking us away from our power and away from love and away from a sound mind. So, how does this happen? In my own life, I see it happen where uh, people are trying to get me to be afraid because of afraid about, what's going to happen in a relationship, or afraid with what's going, you know, I see it a lot in control in relationships, where one partner or the other has a deep-seated fear of something, maybe being alone, maybe of being left, maybe of, um, you know, whenever people are, not whenever, I should say, a lot of religions rule based on fear. A lot of religions basically use fear, fear of punishment, fear that God is not going to love us, fear that we are not going to be rewarded, fear that we're not going to get to heaven, right? Fear that we're not going to, usually more to be rewarded in some way, right? There's this fear that if we don't act a certain way or do things a certain way, and I'm talking about things that are outside of the realm of just these like few simple principles, we can call them the golden principles. I'm talking about things outside of that realm, like what we wear or how we believe or how we dress or what we eat or how we relate to people or the roles of men and women, all of these things that fear is in there that says if you're not doing it this way or believing it this way, then God is not going to be happy with you, right? That's a way that fear comes into our lives. Hey, Deborah. And then what are other ways that fear comes in, especially into our relationships? Um, it might be fear of being disconnected, fear of being alone, fear of being left, um, and and that fear can make us want to control somebody else. It can make us, want to say, okay, well, you have to be this way, or you have to be that way, or you have to believe this or that. And that fear it's not coming from a bad place, right? Hi, Deborah. Good to see you. It may be coming from a place where, people they really want something to work. They want a relationship to last. They want it to work. They don't want the two people in the relationship to go in different directions and to be parted from each other. But when we try to put ourselves into somebody else's space and control who they are and what they do so that that doesn't happen, then that action is coming from a place of fear, and that's putting fear into the space of the relationship. And fear and love can't exist in the same space. And so when you are in a spirit of love with your partner, then there is no fear. When you're fully basking in that love and appreciation for them and thinking about all the wonderful things that you love about them, there is no fear. It's only when we go to the other side, when we succumb to the fears, often from things that have happened to us, right? Our past relationships, our past relationships with our parents, maybe past experiences, that we see something that looks like it might be similar, or we think, okay, I've created this world. Now, after all these experiences, I know exactly how this should be and how it should look. And if it doesn't look like that, then I become afraid that I'm going to lose it, So we bring fear into it in these ways, and that pushes out the love. When we're in a spirit of fear, we're not in a spirit of love. We're pushing out that love, right? We're pushing out that power. We're pushing out that peaceful, sound mind. And if we say, well, it's okay to be in fear, well, fear has useful properties, okay? There are useful properties that have to do with fear, to protect us from danger, or to make us look into things more, or to research things and stuff like that. But as part of our daily lives, we're not, constantly running for our lives or in fear of, that some tiger is going to get us or something. So we don't need to live in that spirit of fear. And yet there's so many things trying to make us afraid all the time, afraid we're not doing it right, afraid that somebody's going to be after us for this, whatever those fears are, right? And they're constantly like coming to us and in our space. So, but whenever we're in that spirit of fear, we're pushing out the love. We're pushing away that peacefulness, that sound mind. What does it mean to have a sound mind? Hi, Ruben. Hi, Beal. What does it mean for you to have a sound mind? If you understand this and you understand this, what I'm talking about fear and love not being able to coexist in the same space at the same time, please, click a like or send hearts or, do something like that. I'm still not that good on social media yet, but you guys can help me out. But what I wanted to talk about is when I go into that space of love, then all of those fears can kind of melt away. Then I'm not afraid about the relationship. I'm not afraid about what happens next, because I know that it will happen as it is meant to happen, because it's not something that I have to control. As long as I'm holding in my space and saying, okay, well, I can stay in a space of love. I don't have to go into the fear. And when I go into the fear, I really feel it. Like, I don't know about you, who here ever, like when I feel fear, it's mostly in my stomach. My stomach tightens up like this, like a knot. And it's like, I get like acid reflex kind of. Even sometimes my heart pounds a bit, but a lot of times it's in my stomach. So whenever my stomach starts to do that, I know I've gone into, my body is reacting to a place of fear. And that can happen when, if I'm in a fight, or if someone's attacking me, not like a physical fight, but like, like you're having a fight with your romantic partner, or they're upset at you or something like that. My stomach goes into this place of tightness, and it goes into this place of fear. And then I have to be like, okay, well, what am I really afraid of here? What am I really afraid of? Am I afraid that they're going to leave? Am I afraid that this relationship is going to end? And why am I afraid of that? What's going on? What do I have to really be afraid of? If it is based on fear already, it's already not going to work. It's not going to be the relationship that we should be in if we're basing it on fear, right? So like, that is where we're go back to that place. What is, if we're out of fear, where are we? We are in a place of love and power and sound mind. And that's the space I want to live in. That's the space I want to live in with the people in my life. I don't want to live with people who are constantly in fear and constantly putting fear in my space, fear about this and fear about what's going to happen, and fear about the government, and fear about, the pandemic, and fear about all of this sort of stuff, right? Fear about God and everything. Like, you don't want to live in a place where there is all that fear. We want to live in a place where there is love, where there is power, where we recognize the power that we have, because we each do have power. We have power. And sometimes our power may only be to experience more good in this moment, but we have way more power than we give ourselves credit for when we are not in fear, when we are not paralyzed by fear. We have power when we stand in our own power and love and a sound mind. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is how do you experience it? How do you move through that place from fear into love and a sound mind? Hey, Sassy Mom. Hey, Suf. How do you move from that space of fear into a place of power and love and of a sound mind? And the way I do it is I typically do it through meditation, through prayer, through, um, you know, reading things that are inspiring, that remind me of who I am, that remind me of where I've come from and everything I've overcome, and that I don't have to be afraid. And these things that can seem so big in the moment when that fear is right there attacking you, and you step back and you say, wow, I've been through so much. So this really is just a little thing compared to all of that. And I know I'll be okay. So why be afraid? Why live in a spirit of fear? Why not move into a place of love? Because guess what? I am way happier when I'm in a space of love and of power and of a sound mind. That makes me so much happier. And I don't choose to live in fear. That's not where I want to be. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen to me. It doesn't mean it doesn't hit me. And I have to realize it and recognize it and be like, oh, I can feel it. I can feel my stomach tensing up. I can feel my heart starting to pound. Okay, time for me to go into that other space and release that. And it's also useful to think about, like maybe to journal and to say, what is it I fear? What is happening there? Recognize it and name the fear. Because when you name something, it no longer has power over you. So name the fear, name the shame, whatever it is, and see it, be like, oh, wow, I'm afraid of that. Okay, well, is that really true? Is that really like a real thing, a likely thing? Probably not, right? And even if it is, there's nothing we can't overcome. There's nothing we can't get through if we face it with power and with love and a sound mind and not in fear. So that's the space I've been walking in, is moving away from fear and more into that space of love and power, and catching myself, because it happens a lot, right? It happens a lot. And catching it and seeing it when others are coming from a place of fear, not in a judgmental way to be like, oh, well, you're just living in fear, but to see, wow, I can see like why they would feel that way. And that makes a lot of sense that they would be in that space and that they would be afraid of these things because of their past or what they believe or anything like that. But I don't have to enter into that fear as well. I can just see it and understand it and not judge it and say, okay, well, I can see that that's what's going on, but that's okay. That's okay for them. If they need to be in that space, that's okay for them. I don't have to be in that space too. I can just allow it. I can allow it with acceptance, and that's the key, is this acceptance of each other, because that's what love is. Love is acceptance. It's not fear. It's not control. Nobody says, I love, well, actually, everybody says, most of us come from this background and this past of love being this like control and you have to do it. And, our parents said, I love you there. That's why I'm spanking you. Or I love you. And that's why, I'm going to force you to do this, that, and the other, which is for your own good. It's like, no, that's not love, right? That is a form of wanting other people. Now, we may want the best for them, but when we're in that space, that's not in the space of love, of trying to control someone or their decisions or their being or trying to change them. Love is acceptance of people. And when we accept them for who they really are, not who we want them to be, not who we thought they were, but who they really are, and we can accept them, then we can just like share back with them. We can say, hey, this happened, that happened. This is how this makes me feel. What do you think? Would you like to do something about that? Would you like to try something there? But I'm not going to take on the fear. I'm not going to take on that, right? They're trying to change me out of fear because that's not in a place of love. That's not a place of love. Now, of course, as parents, we do things to protect our children out of love. But if we're constantly trying to control them and change their decisions about, what they want to study or who they want to be, then that's not coming from a place of acceptance and love and seeing them for who they are and allowing them to be who they are, right? And it's the same for us in relationships, in like love relationships as well, which is to see the person for who they really are and accept them. That's the spirit of love. To let them be who they are, and that's okay. And be grateful for them for who they are. So that's what I've been learning and focusing on. And I don't know if that's helpful for you. If that's helpful for you, put a heart. And I hope you guys have a beautiful Sunday and that you can meditate on that thought, right? Meditate on that verse. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And just recognize how often, whenever we feel that tension, that, right? And I do it because I have a tendency to want to control things because I want to control my space. I want to control what's going on with this and that and the other, how people see me. And it's all coming from a place of fear, and it creates a tension. It creates a tightness in the chest. It creates a tension here. Now, of course, talk to any psychologist, right? If you know anything about my background, perfectly normal. You know, people who've grown up in difficult circumstances, who were abused, who suffered different things. Of course, that you're going to have a reaction of wanting to control things out of fear to keep themselves safe. But how do we grow past that? It's not like that reaction isn't natural and normal. It is. And I can recognize and see that about myself and say, okay, that's okay. I react that way. That's all right. But do I want to move past that? Do I want to be in that space, or do I really just want to be more in a place of acceptance? And it's a work in progress. Believe me, it is a work in progress. But you know, just catching myself at little times, and up there, I see I'm doing it again. Up there, I'm doing it again. Right? Catching myself like that, and that is the journey. So, thank you, Deborah, for the hearts and for joining me today. I hope you have a beautiful day. And thank you, Mom. IFIC, Mommer. I hope you all have a beautiful day. And go back and rewatch this if you didn't see it. I hope that it inspires you this Sunday.